3 days before the wedding, Grace Miller handed me a pregnancy report and said, "Jason, I'm pregnant. The baby is Owen Parker's." That night at the party, we all drank too much. He really wants this child. You know, he's an illegitimate son. If he has a child before his brother, it'll give him a big advantage in the family inheritance. I looked at her calmly and asked, "So?" Grace Miller had clearly rehearsed her explanation. "Let's postpone the wedding. I'll have a fake marriage. With him, as soon as the baby's born, I'll divorce him. He'll raise the child on his own." Her voice softened as if coaxing a child. "Don't worry. Owen's your best friend. I'll keep my distance." With that, Grace dragged her suitcase and left without looking back. That night, I burned the custom-made wedding dress worth millions and said yes to the most powerful woman in the business world. When Sophia Young arrived, she was still in her evening gown, one high heel missing. Out of breath, she stopped in front of me, waving her household registration booklet. "Why do you need this in the middle of the night?" "To register our marriage," Sophia huffed with mock arrogance. "I chased you for 3 years, and you never budged. Now you want to get married just like that. You think I, Miss Young, have no pride?" I glanced at my watch. It was already 9 p.m. The Civil Affairs office opens at 9 tomorrow morning. "You have the whole night to think it over. The offer expires after that." "Just kidding," she grinned, grabbing my tie. "Let's go. I'll find someone to register us now." Right after we got our marriage certificate, her assistant called President Young. "Everyone's waiting at the gala for your speech." Holding the fresh marriage certificate, Sophia gave me a half smile. "President Miller, you don't mind if I take care of a bit of business first, do you?" I shook my head. "Go ahead. You've got work to do." She leaned in, her lips brushing against my ear, as she whispered, "Don't regret this later." Then she turned and climbed into her car, still wearing only one high heel. "I'll come pick you up later," I called after her. Standing at the Civil Affairs office, watching her leave, I couldn't help but sigh. What a superwoman. So busy, and still made time to get married. Why didn't I see this before? I took a cab back to the apartment I'd originally prepared for Grace Miller. As soon as I opened the door, I heard laughter from the living room. Grace Miller and Owen Parker. "Oh, stop it." Grace giggled. I froze. There she was, lounging on the sofa in her pajamas. Owen was kneeling in front of her, holding her ankle, seemingly painting her toenails. They both looked up when they saw me. Jason. Grace blinked at me, her tone casual, like this was all normal. "Owen's place is too small. This one's much more comfortable. You're always busy with work, and Owen can take care of me here." Owen grinned, not even pausing his movements. "Don't get the wrong idea, Jason." Her nail polish chipped, and I just happened to know how to fix it. I stared at his hand, his thumb, softly stroking her ankle. Grace let out a soft hey, and nudged him with her foot. "Owen, stop it. Jason might misunderstand." Despite her words, she sank deeper into the sofa, letting Owen keep holding her foot. Owen didn't even blink. "Come on, Jason, we've been friends for years." Expressionless, I walked over. The tea on the coffee table had spilled. My prized Junshan leaves. 2 cups sat there. One had a lipstick stain. It was meant to be a gift for my father. "You two really know how to enjoy yourselves," I sneered. Owen shrugged. Grace was feeling down. "As your buddy, I'm just doing what I can to support her." "Feeling down?" I turned to Grace. She bit her lip, eyes immediately misting with tears as if deeply wronged. "Jason postponing the wedding has really stressed me out." She reached for the teacup, but Owen beat her to it, bringing it to her lips. "Careful, don't spill it." Grace took a sip from his hand. Her eyes locked on mine. "Jason, you're not seriously going to get upset over a cup of tea, are you?" I stared at them, suddenly feeling like the whole world had gone mad. Owen chuckled. "Don't overthink it. Her heart's always been yours." As he spoke, his fingers brushed her calf. Grace let out a soft moan, swatting him playfully. "Owen Parker." There wasn't a trace of real anger in her voice. I turned and walked toward the bedroom. Grace suddenly called out, "Jason." She ran barefoot after me, the scent of Owen's cologne clinging to her. "Don't be mad." She tried to grab my arm, but I sidestepped her. "I need the bedroom. You two carry on." I opened the door. My pillow was on the floor. A strange shirt was lying on the bed. I closed the door. From the living room, I heard Owen whisper, "Is he mad?" Grace chuckled. "Let him be. He'll come crawling back to marry me anyway." When I came out with my suitcase, they were back on the couch. Grace stood up in surprise. "Jason, where are you going?" "I'm moving out. The place is yours now." Owen Parker feigned concern. "Jason, come on, don't overreact. There's really nothing going on between me and Grace." I looked straight at Grace Miller. "You seriously want to disgust me like this?" Her eyes instantly widened. "Jason, how can you say that? Owen is your best friend. I did this for you." "My best friend?" I scoffed. "If he were really my friend, would he knock up my fiancée and sleep in the wedding home I prepared?" Grace's face turned pale in an instant. Owen shot to his feet. "Jason Miller, you just then the front door swung open. Sophia Young leaned against the doorframe, twirling a set of car keys in her hand. Honey, ready to go. Grace's expression completely collapsed. Sophia raised an eyebrow and glanced at Owen. Oh, Owen Parker's here, too. What's this? Changing careers to become a nail technician. Owen's face darkened. Sophia Young, what's that supposed to mean? She ignored him and walked over to Hook, her arm through mine. Let's go. Our place is way bigger than this dump. As we passed Grace, Sophia gave a light laugh. Miss Miller, thanks for letting go. After all, she gave my arm a playful swing. A man this good. You don't want him, I'll take him. Grace glared at me, furious. Jason Miller, seriously, you're bringing another woman here just to spite me. Can you be more dramatic? Grace, don't be mad. Owen jumped in to mediate. Jason's just jealous, that's all. I'll stay with you during the day and go home at night. Okay, Jason. Grace frowned deeply. Jason Miller, haven't you had enough? Owen's already compromising this much, and you're still not satisfied. He's just an illegitimate son, and even he has more generosity than you. You're the CEO of Miller Corporation. How can you be this petty? I took the car keys from Sophia Young, turned to Grace, and said coldly, whatever you want to do from now on. Who you sleep with, who you marry, it has nothing to do with me. We're done. Grace stood frozen, eyes vacant, watching Sophia and me walk away. She suddenly screamed, Jason Miller, if you walk out that door, don't even think about ever coming back. I didn't respond. I left without looking back. As soon as I got in the car, Grace's parents called. I hesitated for a moment, then picked up. Jason. Her mother's voice came through. Grace said, you two had a fight. I replied calmly, no fight. We broke up. There was a pause on the other end, clearly panicked. Jason, why? You two have always been so good together. The wedding's so close. Don't act on impulse. I told them everything, every detail about Grace and Owen. Next to me, Sophia Young burst into laughter, slapping my shoulder. You know, she giggled. You might be the first guy I've seen who can so calmly tell his ex's parents he got cheated on. Absolutely iconic. I rolled my eyes at her. The line went quiet for a long moment. Then Grace's father spoke, his tone gentle. Jason, Grace has been spoiled since she was little, but deep down she does love you. And think about it. If Owen inherits the Collins family fortune, you two could support each other. I responded coolly. Mr. Miller, it's too late. There's nothing more to say. Grace's mother quickly took the phone. You really want her to get an abortion? The child is innocent. You're a man. Can't you be a little more forgiving? The wedding's just postponed, not canceled. I turned to glance at Sophia Young, who was grinning with delight. No need. I've already got a better wedding plan. I ended the call, ignoring their shouting, and immediately blocked every member of the Miller family. As I was deleting Grace's WeChat, I caught a glimpse of her latest post, a candlelight dinner photo with Owen. Caption, true happiness never waits. How ironic when Sophia Young showed up with the household registration booklet. She had already bought a 300-meter penthouse on the way to make it our new home. I couldn't help but be impressed by her efficiency. No wonder she's one of the most formidable women in business. I spent the first 3 days in the new place catching up on sleep. Honestly, it felt better than the past 6 months of nonstop stress, dealing with the board, scheming old foxes, and planning a ridiculous wedding. On the fourth morning, the smooth glide of silk sheets woke me. Sophia was leaning in the doorway, wearing a burgundy silk robe, the belt barely tied, revealing a tiny mole below her collarbone. She held a cup of steaming black coffee. Its scent, as sharp and bold as her eyes, had enough sleep. She set the cup on the nightstand, her cool fingertips suddenly lifting my chin. President Miller, don't tell me you thought I bought that penthouse just so you could turn it into a rehab center. I instinctively leaned back. Sophia Young, have mercy on me. I'm saying, she interrupted, straddling my legs in one fluid motion. The hem of her robe parted, revealing a heart-stopping curve. It's time to plan our wedding. She pulled out a gold-embossed folder from behind her and tossed it onto my chest with a soft thud. Just so we're clear, don't think you can get away with recycling that lame wedding plan you had with Grace Miller. I gave a helpless smile and opened the folder. On the very first page, in bold, Client Sophia Young, Event Planner, Jason Miller, President Young. I closed the folder. I work in artificial intelligence, not event planning. I don't care. She stepped, barefoot, onto the carpet, the hem of her silk robe brushing my knee. You've got 3 days. Wait, did you say the plan with Grace Miller? The air turned heavy in an instant. I glanced toward the shelf where my mother's photo sat and suddenly remembered the emerald necklace she left for my future wife. My throat tightened, was still locked in the safe at the old apartment. Sophia Young's nails suddenly dug into my shoulder, and the pain jolted me back to full clarity. It wasn't just a necklace. It was the last keepsake my mother left me. She smacked the back of my head. You forgot something that important. I knew I was in the wrong. I quickly took her with me and drove straight to the old place. At the door, The electronic lock gave a cold beep. Verification failed. Please try again. My face darkened. They'd even changed the passcode. Next to me, Sophia was already calling someone. Hello, locksmith. Yes, I'm at. I stopped her and jingled the master key in my hand. The moment I opened the door, ambiguous moans floated out from the master. Bedroom. Where's the safe? Master bedroom. As soon as I answered, Sophia stormed ahead and kicked the door wide open. The two on the bed shot up in panic. Grace Miller scrambled to grab the blanket and cover her naked body. Owen Parker stared at us, furious. Sophia gave them both a dismissive glance. Please, that body doesn't even compare to mine. Covered or not, it's all the same. Grace was about to snap back. Then she saw me, her voice dripped with sarcasm. Well, if it isn't President Miller. What, already regretting your decision? I didn't look at her. Sorry to interrupt your little game. I'm just here for something, then I'll be gone. Owen's face turned red with rage. You can't just barge in like this. This is illegal trespassing. Should I call the cops? I nearly laughed. The deed still has my name on it. So, who's the real trespasser here? Grace suddenly smirked wickedly. You're here for that necklace, aren't you? With that, she reached under the pillow and pulled out the emerald necklace, slowly putting it around her neck. This one, Owen chuckled. Jason Miller, don't tell me you're using this pathetic necklace to try and win Grace back. I clenched my fists, holding back the urge to punch someone. I'll say this calmly. Grace Miller, that necklace was left by my mother for the future daughter-in-law of the Miller family. You have no right to wear it. Daughter-in-law of the Miller family. That's me, isn't it? The words had barely left her mouth when Sophia Young threw our marriage certificate right in her face. Open your eyes and take a good look. I am Jason Miller's legal wife. I am the daughter-in-law of the Miller family. Now, are you going to take it off or do I rip it off myself? Grace stared at the official seal on the certificate, breathing heavily. Jason Miller, are you even a man? I never said I wouldn't marry you. I just wanted to postpone it. And you go find some woman to fake a certificate just to spite me. Sophia narrowed her eyes and let out a chilling laugh. She walked toward Grace one step at a time and lightly hooked a finger under the necklace. Miss Grace, how does it feel to wear something stolen? Grace avoided her gaze, suddenly losing her confidence. Sophia Young, don't get too full of yourself. This is between me and Jason. Sophia remained calm. Oh, then maybe I should throw in the evidence of you and your parents embezzling funds from the Miller Group. My brow arched. What funds? Sophia smiled lightly. Your ex-fiancé and her dear parents. Let's just say they haven't exactly been strangers to the company accounts. Grace panicked. You're lying. Sophia held up her phone and waved it in front of her face. Want me to call the Economic Crimes Unit right now? Grace gritted her teeth and yanked off the necklace, tossing it at us. Take it, who wants that stupid thing, anyway? Sophia caught it with a smirk. Thanks. Well, we've got what we came for. You two can go back to whatever you were doing. Suddenly, Owen yelled at me. Jason Miller, you really think Sophia Young actually loves you? She's just after your money. I blinked and turned to Sophia. She smiled sweetly. Of course I am. What? You have a problem with that? I shrugged. Funny, I'm after her money too. Grace Miller, Owen Parker. Back in the car, Sophia handed me the necklace and brushed her hair to the side, revealing her long, pale neck. With a teasing smile, she said, put it on me. Let's see how it looks. I leaned over and fastened the necklace around her neck. How do you know so much about what's going on inside my company? I asked. Sophia admired herself in a compact mirror. I didn't. I was bluffing. Didn't expect her to blow up like that. Lucky guess. With a family like that and a rich guy like you, it'd be a miracle if they weren't stealing from you. Sophia Young, I asked quietly, why are you willing to do all this for me? She paused, still staring at her reflection. It took her back to that stormy night at the back entrance of the university library. 20-year-old Sophia sat huddled under the eaves, soaked to the bone. Her thesis materials had been deliberately destroyed by her ex. Tomorrow was the deadline for her defense. Suddenly, a black umbrella opened above her head. Need some help? Sophia Young looked up and saw a cold, handsome face. The famously untouchable heartthrob of the entire campus. She froze. You know me. The man shook his head and handed her an umbrella. The library has backup computers. If you're pulling an all-nighter, the night admin's a friend of mine. Without waiting for a response, he turned and walked back into the rain. Do you remember giving an umbrella to a girl back in college? Sophia Young asked me softly. I frowned, thinking I think so, but I can't quite remember. Sophia Young smiled. It's okay. I remember. President Yang, do you prefer a Western wedding or a traditional Chinese one? I asked her. Probably Western. I don't think Chinese style suits me. Sophia replied after a moment's thought. All right. After Sophia Young's outburst earlier, neither Grace Miller nor Owen Parker was in the mood to continue the game. Grace seemed overwhelmed with anger, throwing whatever she could get her hands on in the room. How dare Jason Miller do this to me? He must be doing this to piss me off, right? He still loves me. He's only doing all this because he wants me to come back. Owen Parker quietly watched, then got dressed and walked toward the door. I'm going out for some air. Grace stared at him, eyes slightly red. What? You're leaving too? Owen paused but didn't respond. He left the room. Over the next few weeks, Owen came home later and later, sometimes not at all. Grace sat on the couch, staring at her phone. 11:47 p.m., still no reply from Owen. She called him. It rang for a long time before he picked up. Hello. Owen's voice was laced with irritation. Where are you? Grace clutched her phone. You haven't been home in 3 days, working overtime. Busy, he replied impatiently. Don't bother me. He hung up. Grace stared at the darkened screen, a growing unease swelling in her chest. The next day, Grace drove secretly to Owen's office. She waited in her car, eyes fixed on the building's exit. At 9 p.m., Owen finally came out, but instead of heading to the parking lot, he hailed a taxi. Grace followed. The taxi stopped in front of a high-end hotel. Owen got out, and a young woman in a short skirt ran out from the lobby, throwing her arms around him. She had flawless makeup, and her bright smile stung Grace like a slap. Grace's breath caught in her throat. Her fingers tightened around the steering wheel. Owen Parker, how dare you? She stormed into the hotel just as the elevator doors closed. She frantically pressed the buttons, then took the stairs, checking every room. Finally, she heard familiar laughter coming from one of the suites. She kicked the door open. Owen and the girl were tangled up on the bed, half-dressed. Grace Miller. Owen jolted upright, his face turning pale. Grace's gaze landed on the girl's panicked face, rage completely consuming her. She rushed forward and slapped the girl hard. The girl screamed, holding her face. Owen yanked Grace's arm. Are you insane? Me, insane. Grace shrieked, struggling to break free. Owen Parker, I betrayed Jason Miller for you. I'm pregnant with your child, and this is how you repay me. Owen sneered. Pregnant? And how do I know it's mine? That sentence stabbed through Grace like a knife. She froze, tears spilling uncontrollably. Owen, already annoyed, let go of her and turned to comfort the girl. Babe, you okay? Grace's world crumbled. She grabbed a vase and hurled it at the mirror. Glass shattered everywhere. Owen Parker, you'll regret this. I swear I'll make you regret it. She stumbled out of the room. Behind her, Owen's voice rang out coldly. Whatever. Grace stood outside the hotel, shivering in the cold wind. She looked down at her slightly rounded belly. Then suddenly, she laughed, a laugh more heartbreaking than any cry. Karma. This is my karma. She finally understood. From the moment she betrayed Jason Miller, she was destined to lose everything. I tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep. Sophia Young's words about the umbrella kept playing in my mind. Then my phone buzzed, a message from Owen Parker. Jason, I have all the evidence on the Miller family's tax evasion and embezzlement. Want to team up? I can help you take them down for good. Me. Wasn't Grace Miller your best friend? Owen Parker, Jason, about Grace. I owe you an apology. Owen Parker, remember back in sophomore year when she used to buy you food to thank you for helping her with schoolwork? Owen Parker, the girl you actually helped was Sophia Young. Grace read Sophia's diary and found out you gave her an umbrella once. Owen Parker, Sophia was overwhelmed with family issues back then. Grace used that opportunity to approach you, pretending to be her. My chest tightened. I looked over at Sophia Young, sleeping peacefully beside me. Me, what's your condition? Owen Parker, help me secure the successor position. Me, all right, let's talk in person tomorrow. I turned off the phone and gently pulled Sophia into my arms. All it took was one umbrella for you to devote your whole life to me. Yep, it was too expensive. I couldn't afford to pay you back, so this was the only way, she whispered. The next day, I received Owen Parker in the company's conference room. With a sly smile, he handed me a folder. I took it and flipped through it carefully. It matched the information I had my own people investigate about the Miller Group almost exactly. In fact, Owen's copy was even more detailed. I closed the folder and looked at him. So, what do you want from me to secure your position as the heir? A glimmer of hope flashed across Owen's face. Jason, if you could hand over the Ton Shoe Project to me. I chuckled. Quite the appetite you have. The Ton Shoe Project, Miller Group's, LATESTAI, chip development, was valued at nearly $10 billion on the market. Owen scratched his head awkwardly. Jason, we're brothers, right? You take the meat, I'll settle for the soup. Besides, with that project, wouldn't the Miller family be in the palm of your hand, too? I looked at him, intrigued. Then why not report it yourself and use it as leverage to get in with me? Jason, revenge is best served personally. He smirked. And besides, I get to play the good guy in front of Grace. After all, she's carrying my child. I was almost speechless. I had never seen anyone so shameless. Owen Parker. I leaned back in my chair, smiling faintly. This alone disqualifies you as an heir. What do you mean? He frowned, tense. I didn't answer. Instead, I took out my phone and played a recording. Once I get the Ton Shoe project from the Millers, I'll sell it straight to Country M. The profit will triple east. That's just a small part of what your dear brother Aaron Collins sent me this morning, I said, casually glancing at Owen. Beads of sweat were dripping from his forehead onto the table, his body visibly trembling. I'm sorry, little brother. A voice came from behind, but for the sake of the company, you'll have to take the fall. Aaron Collins entered the room. Aaron Collins. Owen growled, lunging at him like a wild dog seeing meat. But just as he stood, the guards pinned him back into his seat. Mr. Miller, Aaron said with a smile. Why don't I take him away? No point letting him be an eyesore. I nodded slightly. Mr. Collins, if someone like him remains in the Collins group, I'll have a hard time feeling secure in any future collaborations. Don't worry, Mr. Miller, Aaron replied. Still smiling, I guarantee you'll never see him again. As Aaron led Owen away, a slow clap echoed behind me. While the snipe and the clam fight, the fisherman profits. Brilliant move. Mr. Miller. Sophia Young stood behind me in a striking red dress. I shrugged. I didn't do anything. When news of the Miller Group stock crash hit the financial headlines, Grace Miller was sitting in the waiting area of an OBGYN clinic. She stared blankly at the news on her phone. Miller Group chairman arrested for financial fraud and bribery. Company files for bankruptcy. Her fingers trembled so much she could barely hold the phone. No, this can't be happening. She frantically dialed her father's number only to hear a cold, automated response. The number you dialed is no longer in service. She tried calling Owen Parker. The subscriber is out of service area. At last, gritting her teeth, she called the number she knew by heart. Jason Miller. Beep beep. The number you dialed is temporarily unavailable. Her hands slowly dropped the phone. Then suddenly, she laughed. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she whispered, "They've all abandoned me. Every last one of them." Grace Miller wandered the streets, aimlessly, one hand protectively cradling her slightly rounded belly. The cold wind cut through her thin clothes, but it couldn't compare to the chill in her heart. Suddenly, a massive LED screen on the corner building switched to a new broadcast. Live. Jason Miller, CEO of Miller Group, marries Sophia Young, president of Young Group. On screen, I stood tall, in a sleek black suit, carefully placing an emerald necklace around Sophia's neck. She smiled, lips painted red, and the diamond on her ring finger sparkled brilliantly under the spotlight. Grace's pupils shrank. Her breath caught. Jason Miller, how dare you? She bolted across the street. Her high heel twisted, but she didn't stop. Like a madwoman, she ran toward the hotel shown on screen. At the hotel entrance, security guards stopped her disheveled figure. Let me in. I'm Jason Miller's fiancée, she screamed hysterically. Sorry, missed no entry without an invitation, one guard said with a frown. Suddenly, Grace pulled a fruit knife from her bag. Get out of my way. Startled, the guards immediately called for backup. In the chaos, she broke through and rushed into the wedding hall. Guests gasped and turned. At the end of the aisle stood a woman in tattered clothes, tears streaking her face, pointing a knife at the stage. Jason Miller, you ruined my family. Are you satisfied now? A stunned silence fell. I looked at her, expressionless, cold, like I was staring at a stranger. Sophia Young, however, smiled. She gently pressed down on my hand and stepped forward. Miss Grace, your father went to prison for crimes he committed. What does that have to do with us? Grace trembled. You set him up. It was all you. Do you have proof? Sophia raised a brow. Or do you still think the whole world should revolve around you? Grace's gaze locked onto mine, filled with hatred and disbelief. Jason Miller, you said you'd love me forever. My voice was eerily calm. Grace Miller, I gave you a chance. I took out my phone and played another recording. Grace's voice. Once we get the Miller Group's patents, we'll kick him to the curb. Grace stumbled back. The knife clattered to the ground. No, it's not like that. Sophia bent down, picked up the knife, and handed it to security with a smile. Please escort Miss Grace out. She clearly needs time to calm down. When Grace Miller was dragged out of the hotel by security, the sky began to pour. She collapsed. In the middle of the road, rain mixing with the tears streaming down her face. In the distance, a runaway truck sped toward her. Blinding headlights illuminated her pale face. The screech of brakes tore through the night. The next day, headlines across the news read, Former Miller Aries dies in tragic midnight accident. Mental breakdown suspected. Meanwhile, on the live stream of the wedding, I was lowering my head to kiss the bride. Sophia Young whispered in my ear with a teasing smile, feeling sorry for her. I shook my head and gently clasped the emerald necklace back around her neck. This necklace, I said softly, has finally returned to its rightful owner. Bonus story. Suddenly, I think a traditional Chinese wedding sounds pretty nice. Sophia Young looked up at me, a flicker of emotion in her eyes that I couldn't quite read. Her heartbeat skipped. Chinese wedding, the phoenix crown, the red bridal robe, the three bows to heaven and earth. Those ancient rituals stirred something unexpected in her heart. Then she laughed at herself inwardly. Sophia Young, since when did you start longing for something so old-fashioned? I raised an eyebrow. Why have just one wedding? We could sail around the world. Every place a new dress, a new ceremony, a gondola in Venice, a sunset in the Aegean Sea, the northern lights in Iceland, a shrine in Japan. Wherever you like, we'll get married again. Sophia Young felt something warm bloom in her chest. She rolled her eyes. Are you planning one in Antarctica, too? Her tone was deliberately disdainful, trying to cover the way her lips were curving upward. I smiled and looked at her. If you want, I wouldn't mind having penguins as groomsmen. At once, the image popped into her head. Jason Miller, in a tuxedo standing among a group of waddling penguins. She nearly burst out laughing. Then, a new thought hit her. This lunatic, he even thought of Antarctica. Just how long has he been planning all this? You're insane, Sophia Young shouted, though her ears flushed pink. So many weddings. Afraid I'll run off. Yes, I met her eyes directly, my voice low and unwavering. I want the whole world to know. She suddenly had no words. She turned away, not wanting him to see her reddened eyes, but silently made a promise to herself. When we get to Antarctica, I'm picking the cutest penguin to be my bridesmaid. Venice was still shrouded in morning mist when Sophia Young stepped barefoot onto the rose petals scattered across the hotel balcony. She turned back, holding two gold-embossed invitations in her fingers, morning sunlight catching like stars on her lashes. Jason Miller. Today's happy wedding has to be in French. As I finished buttoning my cufflinks, I walked over and wrapped my arms around her from behind. Pour toujours, forever. She poked my chest. Wrong pronunciation. It's a J. Is there a difference? Of course. She lifted her face to mine. I caught the scent of jasmine oil in her hair. The first is just a measurement of time. The second, I kissed her before she could finish. It means Jason Miller and Sophia Young. This was our 7th wedding stop around the world. Half a year ago at Tokyo's Magi Shrine, she tripped on my robes and almost fell. I picked her up in front of 1,000 guests and carried her off over my shoulder. In the Blue Dome Church of Santorini, she insisted on stomping grapes, barefoot, to make wedding wine and ended up drunkenly clinging to me, slurring, "Let's get married 100 more times." Now, aboard a gondola gliding through the canals of Venice, her veil blew into my lap. Jason Miller wears the ring. She suddenly tugged on my tie. My hand froze in my pocket. I think I dropped it in the water. The look in her eyes was pure panic. Before she could react, I had already shed my jacket and leaped into the canal. The water was colder than I expected, though not as sharp as the sound of her tear-choked voice yelling, "Jason Miller, you bastard. What if there are jellyfish?" When I climbed back into the boat, soaked to the bone, I opened my hand and her tears splashed onto my palm. "Do you even realize I prepared?" "A backup ring," I said, pulling a velvet box from my inner pocket like a magic trick. "But this is the one I wanted to find." Inside, 2 wedding bands sparkled with diamonds, the color of Iceland's northern lights. Her tears fell freely now. "When did you, ... That night in Reykjavik," I said, wiping her cheeks. "You told me the aurora looked like my eyes, so I took them out and gave them to you." She laughed through her tears. 0 points for cheesy lines, but her hands were trembling as she slid on the ring. Our wedding banquet was held in a centuries-old palace. When Sophia Young went to cut the cake, the entire chocolate fountain suddenly collapsed. As guests gasped, she lifted her dress and raised an eyebrow at me. "Mr. Miller, shall we elope?" We stole the chef's motorboat and sped off toward Burano. She laughed at the back of the boat. "Next time in Antarctica, I'm wearing a penguin suit." "Approved," I said as she fell into my arms with the jolt of the waves, but only in front of me. The wind carried a distant aria from Tandid across the water. She fell quiet. "Jason Miller," she asked softly, "why so many weddings?" I tilted the throttle, letting the boat lean into the waves. Beneath the stars and the shimmer of water, I kissed her. "Because every time I say I do, I love you more than the ...